Hi there, this is Baz at GotAUkulele with another instrument review for you. These instruments have been around for a little while this year, and I've seen one or two people comment on them, make video reviews, kind of reviews of them on YouTube, but not played one myself. So thrilled to be having a look at this now. This is the Omega Music Zedro 2 concert ukulele. Omega Music are a well-renowned music store based in the north of England, and they decided that, like some other music stores, they wanted an instrument of their own design and branding that they could recommend to their shoppers, which is no bad idea because they've based the specs on feedback from customers and reviewers like me to ensure that they hit all the bases of the things that I think most ukulele players want to see. So there it is. It's fairly standard concert scale and shaped ukulele. We have a solid cedar top with a nice straight grain. I can't tell if it's book matched, it might be a single piece, but it's typical cedar, which is a beautiful wood, great tone wood, very warm sounding, and that is coupled with a laminate back and sides in zebra wood, which is pretty striking. Now, you'll see some people get sniffy about laminate use on a ukulele. I think if you can afford a fully solid ukulele, I'd always go for one. But backs and sides matter less for tone, really, than the top, which is doing the work. In fact, I own some pretty high-end guitars which have laminate back and sides from some famous guitar-making names. I also like this zebra wood. Zebra wood is naturally stripy, surprise, surprise. But this is not overly so, and I think it's quite classy looking. Certainly a bit of a head turner. So we have that cedar top, and you can see the Zedro logo there inside the sound hole. We have a rosewood, fairly standard design tie bar bridge, mounting with what I think is a plastic saddle, but correct me if I'm wrong, Omega. And it looks very nice and tidy. Inside the sound hole, nice and neat notch kerfing, no glue blobs dripping out everywhere, fairly subtle bracing, everything I'd like to see. And the top and the back are joined to the sides with benefit of some brown, can't tell if that's wooden, yeah, I think it's wooden edge binding. The sides are two pieces, we've got the join here, and the back, if you can see that, has a very slight arch to it, so it's all what I quite like to see. The finish is satin. You can see some of the pores of the wood in the zebra wood laminate, which is nice, because it shows me that the laminate outer is actually not just wafer thin. There's actually something a bit more to it. The satin finish on the cedar, not gloss, and cedar is not the hardest wood in the world, so I suspect that in time this will pick up the odd knock. I got a cedar guitar that I sold recently and it was absolutely battered, but it doesn't change the way it sounds. In fact, actually just, I think, adds to the sort of love and attention that the instrument's been given. It's got a nice sort of warmish orangey glow, and it's a pretty thing. I like it a lot. The neck is hardwood and is in three pieces. We've got a joint here at the heel and a joint up at the headstock, but otherwise pretty standard. Quite a chunky heel on it in terms of its size, but I don't find it uncomfortable. And the whole of that neck is topped with a rosewood fingerboard, nice and clean rosewood, no stripes. The edges of the fingerboard are not bound, so we can see the edges of the frets, but they are really smooth, nicely finished, and all good. We've got fingerboard markers in pearloid inlays at the 5th, 7th, 10th, 12th and 15th. And just coming back to that one on the 12th, we've got a double marker, but we've also got the inlay of the Omega Greek letter symbol there, which is nice, gives it something a bit unique to look at. And thankfully those position markers are repeated for the player on the side. So all good so far. Any gripes that I thought I might have, I've yet to find them. The headstock is fairly simple and plain, and faced in what I think is rosewood. It's got the Omega logo the word Omega rather, engraved into the top, which I think is nice and classy, and we don't have a cheap sticker. It's plain, but I'd rather see that than the manufacturers who seem to insist on making their headstocks look like Martin guitars. I quite like that. Tuning is provided by sealed, unbranded geared tuners, which work perfectly in my mind. No sticks or crunchiness in the gears. We've got fairly small buttons in a kind of rubberized black plastic finish, which I think are sweet as well. And the whole package is finished off with, and this is good, Worth brown strings. Thankfully, we've got a manufacturer here who's not going down the route of filling absolutely everything they do with Ukulele. I like Worth browns. I'd always recommend with most ukes I change them and experiment anyway. But, I know that I'd probably keep these on for a while to see how it settles in. So, I'm pretty impressed, all in. Price, I've seen these online from between about £170 and £180, which I think is pretty good value, actually. And the Zedro range also come in soprano and tenor with the same woods. So just 3 ukes that are different sizes, which is nice. So you can pick your preferred size, but you're getting the same sort of uke. It's all good. What really took me aback with it when I got it was the sound. It's a pocket rocket. It's got a really nice, bright, clear, projecting sound. Far more projection than some other concerts, with all solid woods and costing quite a bit more money that I've played. I think it's quite bright considering it's a cedar top, which surprised me as well. I can hear all of those strings in a strum. Nothing's getting muddled. It's bright from the bottom to the top, and this is a good thing. A really good thing. It's really sweet, and from the moment I got it, I've been playing it a fair bit because I think it's very playable. I think the profile on the neck it's a bit chunky. I quite like chunky. Some people don't. I do. It's a bit wider than the fingerboards on some concerts I've played. It feels good in my hands. The setup that came from Omega, although they may have fettled with it, is exactly how I'd want it. Maybe take the action down at the 12th a touch, but nothing unplayable at all. But it's got that real sort of chime to it, which I think it should be a given with a concert ukulele, but quite often isn't. I think this goes into the highly recommended category for the money. If you are a beginner with a you know, Macala Dolphin or something like that, and wanting to move up to what you consider a high-end beginner or low to intermediate end ukulele, I think you do a lot worse than looking at this for the money. I really do. Okay, it's not, you know, mid-table Pono 500 quid. It's not handmade Hawaiian quality, but I shouldn't do this, but when I review instruments, I do find myself looking over them, trying to find something to trip up the maker. I've been over this with a fine-tooth comb. There's nothing really I don't like about it. I like all of it. I think it's great value. I think it's very well made. I like the fact that it's quite clear that they've taken on some recommendations from players in putting this out there, and they've really put their necks on the line as well with it to develop it, because it could have failed and they could end up with a warehouse full of them, but I believe they're selling very well, and I can understand why. Then they're good people at that shop. So there we are, the Omega Music Zedro 2 concert ukulele in cedar and zebra wood. I would take a look at this. They're available online, or go into the shop and meet the very nice people there and see if you can have a play. They come recommended by this website.